it's so energizing to be a student again, and then to
Right.
learn something, your own thing. And like I love it. I really like enjoy it, going to a different school or with different instructors, or taking a workshop with people that you're not familiar with, and then being like, oh, like they do their basic step, or that's an interesting technique they're using, like to do this. So I really enjoy it, and if I like it, I've got like a problem. I'm like, oh, I have to get good at that now. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I don't like to be average at something that I like. So I have to practice it like a lot. But I don't know. Maybe that's my issue.
I love that you say that about the, whether it's basics, because I'm like a nerd like that around technique basic stuff too. It's like, why is she or they crossing their foot there on count 8 or 1, or like I was looking at someone on Instagram the other day obsessing over how they were doing a cross body right turn and the way that she prepped her footwork. I was like, why did they do that? Interesting. I get really intrigued with that kind of detail as well now. So yeah, I'm just excited from a student perspective, but I also go as a dance school owner, and seeing just in terms of the way that they have their timetable set up, systems that they use, class time, everything. I'm sort of going with different sort of hats on, I guess. So,
yeah, I appreciate that, because same thing as a teacher. So I'll go somewhere to learn content and learn concepts and learn techniques, but then I also go because I want to see how they teach, how do they deliver what they're doing, like engage with students, like present them. So all those things I find really interesting from a teaching perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the beautiful thing about New York too is it's not just going to be salsa. It's like we're going to go and see Broadway shows and just see stuff and be inspired. Everything that's there, So I'm excited. I haven't been for a long time, so I'm looking forward. I think the last time I was there was 2014 when I was there when I went to Miami. So I'm excited to go back.
It's so overwhelmingly big, New York, for me. Like shell shocking. Like I grew up in country Australia, so like for me to see like huge sky-rise buildings and like their subway system and their traffic and the people there, like it's so much to take in. Like,
yeah, me too. I'm a country kid too. Like I grew up on a B line. Anyone knows what that is? Country trains. So yeah, it's eye opening. So I'm really excited about that.
From a social dancing perspective, where have you enjoyed it the most in the world?
Ooh, look, I mean, I haven't had the luxury of traveling as much as you have. I honestly, like, I'm really proud of the scene here, and I think probably, honestly, some of the best social dancers, some of the best dancers I've had have been here. I think the reason I say that is last time I was in America, I was a newer dancer, and I probably didn't appreciate it as much as I do now. So, for example, when I went out social dancing, I was probably like eye-opened and scared, terrified. And in Europe, probably the same thing. So I guess from that perspective, it's more because I haven't had that luxury as yet, as much in terms of where I am now as a dancer. So I guess for me, it's always when I go to any congress here. So specifically, Sydney Mambo Convention last year was amazing. It was so good. I think that event, because it was the first bigger one back that we'd had since COVID. And just to see that whole floor again, full with people dancing and enjoying themselves and back to doing what we love, that was really special. And
two events that like have that same vibe. I remember the first time I went to Sydney Latin Festival in their huge arena, and I was like mind blown. I was like, wow, huge is going on. And then I think the same year or the year after, I went to Palladium, and like that's the first time I saw Thomas Guerrero or Eddie Torres Jr. and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And like I said something to Thomas during class, and he's like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "Jai." And he's like, "Come up on stage with me." I was like, "Oh!" Like, he does that with a lot of the people in the workshop, and it was so amazing. And then he had a
That
bunch
venue,
of us.
that venue is very special. That was out at Olympic Park, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the one.
I think that was my first ever Congress, actually, back in, I'm not going to tell you what year. Jamie will laugh at me. And yeah, I remember being the same when I walked in and, you know, I got my wristband upstairs and just being like a little kid, like, whoa. And it was at that event, I'm pretty sure, that because I had been dancing salsa probably less than 6 months, maybe like 3 months. And someone was like, let's go to Sydney Congress. I was like, yeah. And someone said to me on the social floor, on 1 or on 2? And I was like, I don't mind. And I'm like, what does that mean? I didn't know what that meant. I tell all my students that now, trying to make them feel better about themselves. It's like I went to Congress and had no idea what I was doing and no idea what on 1 or on 2 meant back then. So yeah, it was that was a pretty special venue, and I admire those guys for running such a big event for so many years now, you know, and having such amazing artists come through. Yeah.
The artists coming this year are going to be really good as well. They're bringing Elysia from Germany, who's the musician from Freiburg.
Yes. Yeah.
His musicality workshops are really good. I took classes with him when I was in Germany, and I did rumba and musicality with him, and it's really good. He knows his stuff. I think Palladium this year, Sydney Salsa Mambo Convention is the new name. It'll be really good. I think.
Yeah.
Do you know who?
Sorry.
I was going to say, I remember who else is going. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know
Karen and Ricardo are the main headliners this year. Yes, yeah, they're coming back, so it'll be really great to see them. I feel like there's someone else I just can't remember. Sorry, guys. But yes, I was super excited. How do you pronounce his name? Anichi. Yeah, I've only seen his videos online, and I send them to a lot of our students because what he's doing is fantastic. And I really, really value that. We have a musicality class that we do every week at Elysia, and I just think that's such an important part of the social dancing concept in terms of you really need to understand that stuff or have your head around it. You know, whether it's to do with musicality or connection, you know, this is something we teach a lot as well.
It's interesting. When you started salsa, was that part of the conversation? Musicality and connection and those sort of concepts?
No.
Not at all.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Excuse me. As a younger dancer, sorry, I'm just gonna get some water. I mean, I'm sure it was, and I think for me, maybe it's something that I've had inbuilt. I don't like to say that, since I was a kid. So from ballet, I guess it's a different genre of music, of course, like coming from, but classical ballet, I used to be obsessed with ballet. So I'd dance every day and I'd listen to that music every day. And I think in a sense that's given me some sort of, well, not grounding, but understanding of concept of musicality and melody and that kind of side of things, which has made it easier in a sense for me to apply to salsa. But some people that haven't come from that training, maybe it's harder for them. But I don't remember specifically having classes on that or having a curiosity about that until more recently, I guess.
Yeah, I think maybe in the last 5 years did it start to become popular, or not popular. People are realizing that they're lacking something in their dancing, and then what they realize they're lacking is how to interpret music, or how to be and how to connect differently. And I think part of the reason for it is because from a connection perspective is now that the sensual styles and there's a lot of crossover between styles, between zouk and salsa and sensual and tango and kizomba. And so now there's people with multidisciplinary like backgrounds can say, oh, like I like dancing with him because his salsa feels like zouk, or their zouk feels so or they're like their salsa is so soft and gentle, like maybe they've got like a background in something else. So I think because I feel like it used to be very like salsa for so long, and it was all about salsa, and bachata was like it was like salsa combos to bachata music. and then like, you know what I mean? And then like Central Bachata took off maybe like 8 years ago or something like that. Like, and then it opened up a whole new avenue of doing things. And then Zouk and Bachata Central have a lot of similarities. I think they argue about where things come from. I don't really know. I don't get involved in it too much, but I really like Zouk. And then tapping into other styles is there's a positive crossover with the other dances that we do, because you can take information from the other styles and apply it to your salsa.
100%. And I think, well, coming back to sort of the musicality element of it as well, and connection it's so important. And that's one of the big things I'm seeing shift in Melbourne too, is we've got some really, I'm so sorry, really exciting new DJs coming through here too, which are bringing out some incredible music. That's just, I think that's the thing that's changed for me too, is a newfound passion for music. And I think that's due to having some new people around me that are DJing. So one of my friends, DJ Pub, DJ Jaime, for example, and of course, Juan Carlos in Adelaide. These guys are just, they live and breathe music, and it's their daily job to unearth some goals, you know. And I think that's a real luxury, and maybe that's what's changed too in the scene a little bit, coming back to what we were talking about earlier, is I hear music that I used to dance to all the time, and I just felt like it was always kind of the same salsa music that got churned up, you know. And of course we still replay tracks here, but there's something different in the music, I think, that's coming out in some of the newer DJs on the scene, which is really exciting.
I think the DJ you just mentioned, who was at the Solo last year in December, he made my weekend. Like, he DJ'd one night, and I feel like I'm back in Europe. This is amazing. Like, and I went up and I introduced, bro, thank you so much. Like, this has been my, and then he played again the next night, and I was like, yes, like.
No, he's doing super well. He's doing super well. Yeah. And it's exciting. And I think that then, and coming back to what you're talking about, connection, is the people that I remember the most. You know, you were talking about favorite social dancers before, or your favorite dancers. And it's those people that make me laugh or smile or feel something. And you're one of those people, because you're really cheeky when you dance, and everyone, I'm sure, tested the same thing. You're super cheeky. And what I like about you is you actually look at your partner and you look like you are actually dancing with me, as opposed to just doing patterns. And the other thing that you do so well is you have a lot of, and I'll call them cheeky as well, cheeky turn patterns, where you keep the girl guessing. You know, you do an arm here, but then you'll want your hand here, and you make me laugh a lot. And that's, you know, I'd say that to my students. Yeah, exactly. This one, I'm like, you get me every time. I'm like, but that's what I say to my students all the time. I try to teach them is, you know, it's a really a reflection of who you're dancing with. You're a mirror to your partner. And if your partner is doing some boring pattern and not looking at you and just trying to do cool moves, I feel like that's 2005, you know, to whatever. Now it's so much for me, especially, like, I can dance with anyone, but I want to dance with those people that I really feel something. And I'm like, that's what dance is about at the end of the day, right? It's like feeling something, enjoying that connection with your partner. I think it's nice to have a balance. Even within salsa, of course, you need to stick to your foundations and your fundamentals steps. But it's like, how can we make that a little bit different? I think it's the same thing I do in musicality. It's like my musicality class, I kind of say, don't worry about the technique, don't worry about the timing, don't worry. I just sort of let them clear their mind, because sometimes I think when they're like, I have to do this step on this, they become very limited with their imagination. So I think it's nice sometimes to clear the slate and be like, let's see what happens, and experiment a little bit and go with the music.